Hey everybody, welcome to the Build Young, Grow Wealthy podcast. My name is Walida Cherie. Today we're going to talk about conservatorship and the cautionary tale of pop star singer Britney Spears. Without further ado, let's get into this. According to Investopedia, conservatorship is a legal status whereby a court appoints a person to manage an incapacitated person or minor financial affairs. And so there are two parts to conservatorship. The first one being someone having the physical care of the person, what happens to them, where they live. This is known as conservator of the person. The other type is when someone has financial responsibility and control over the incapacitated person or the minor's estate, and this is known as conservator of the estate. For many of you, you may have been seeing in the news or maybe even on your news feed or the internet that on June 23rd, 2021, Britney Spears went to court. But this time she went to court to defend herself, asking that she no longer have conservatorship. So for most of you who have followed Britney Spears, if you're a fan, or if you just so happen to just like a little bit of drama in your life, you have noticed that this is not the first time she's gone to court. So the very first time was her actually telling the judge that she was fine with having her father as conservator over her life. And like I said, over her life, meaning they make decisions about what happens to her as well as what happens to her finances. But since the time she's gone to court, there has been some things that's happened to her, and she's also become more educated on what conservatorship is. And so now she's going to this particular judge asking if she can have permission for her conservatorship to end. There was a leaked audio file which I was able to listen to, and when you listen to her case, I think she made some pretty good reasons as to why she should no longer have conservatorship. Her main reason is that she has to perform against her will, and if it wasn't for her going out there making money, no one else would be able to make money. So that is pretty much the gist as to why she feels like conservatorship should end. So just to give you a little backstory about Britney Spears and her turbulent past, if you're not a fan, then this is definitely something you want to lean in close to so that you can definitely understand why this is a big deal. If you're a fan, then you already know. So back in 2008, Britney Spears had a huge breakdown, and this was not your typical breakdown. In fact, some of the things she did just seemed out of the norm for her personality. One of those things being she has pretty long blonde hair. She shaved all her hair off to basically bald. It was kind of like what we call a bald fade. Many people were concerned about that drastic look that she just, out of nowhere decided to have. Also, she was always attacked by paparazzi, and she got fed up and she took her frustrations out on paparazzi one day. So it was those few incidents as well as a few others that made people very concerned about her well-being. So before I go on to my next statement, I just want to say that I completely empathize with Britney in this situation. If you know anybody who has started in the public eye as a kid, even as a teenager, we've watched them grow up. And almost everybody we've watched grow up has always at some point in time had this quote-unquote crazy moment. And I don't think this is by coincidence. I personally believe Hollywood as well as the music industry has some very toxic things that goes on, and people, because we're all human, have a breaking point. And I just believe personally in 2008 that was Britney's breaking point. Now that you know a little bit about her past, this is how she was able to have someone to have conservatorship over her, because during that time frame her father went to a judge basically pleading that his daughter is not in her right mind and that he needed to take over her estate and also her well-being. So the judge gave him that opportunity. But something to note here, in conservatorship, when it comes to someone saying that they need to have conservatorship over you, you don't personally have to be in court to say yay or nay. All they have to do is provide some type of proof that you need to have some type of custodial protection, and the judge can say yes. Now, personally, this was only supposed to be a temporary situation. But if you listen to the leaked document of Britney Spears, she's saying that this has gone on for over 13 years, and where she's at now is not where she was in 2008. And she feels as though conservatorship should end. So her father was probably not the best father in her eyes because of things that he did to her. He overworked her. He made her basically make him money, because without her making money, he didn't get paid. And she felt like the managers and everybody had something to do with that. But as a father, she felt as though he didn't protect her. In fact, he was like everybody else, and he was essentially just using her. But one day, and I'm not sure the exact year and time frame, but I was just, from the calculations I can make, it seemed as though it was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, her father fell ill. And so when her father fell ill, the judge at that time appointed her a new conservator. And her new conservator name is Jody Montgomery, who now is in control over her as a person and also over her finances. So that's just a little brief summary of her past. So as you can see, this is going to be, in my eyes, a pretty long, drawn out case, because that's just one side of the story. They still have to hear everyone else's side of the story, I believe, in order for the judge to make a decision. So at this point, this is July 1st, 2021. No one knows what is going to happen in this situation, because that was just last week. So what I want to do now at this point is I want to give my opinion about the situation based on the information that I have, and in this case, is listening to Britney's testimony to the judge, and why I believe that at the very minimum, Britney should no longer have a conservator over her finances. So the first thing is, based on the definition of what conservatorship means, Britney is not a minor, and I don't believe that she is incapacitated, where she is unable to make her own financial decisions. And to support that, I was doing research, because I know how law works, and most of the times it is only for that particular state and how things can be defined. So I wanted to know, for the state of California, which is where Britney lives, how do they decide and define how a person becomes incapacitated, or who is incapacitated? And I found a law firm online called McCoon Law, which is a law firm in the state of California. And by definition, the law defines incapacity as the inability to make decisions or perform certain acts due to diminished mental functions like alertness and attention, thought processes, and the ability to modulate mood and affect. These mental functions can lead to things like inability to understand or communicate with others, failure to reason logically, or presence of delusions and or hallucinations. So if you get an opportunity, try to go and listen to her side of the story, and her meaning Britney, so that you can listen for yourself to see if how she's presented herself fits that description. I will personally say, listening to her testimony, I did hear some things that are concerning, which I do believe she still needs to go to some form of therapy, but I don't think she should be considered incapacitated. And my reasons of concern is that she says she cries every night, she's bitter, she's angry, she's frustrated. Those are all signs that there are still issues that are unresolved, where I think she could still benefit from having therapy. And so one of her discussions about therapy, though, is that she has to go 3 to 4 times a week, and she's sitting in these sessions for hours upon hours at a time, and it's very, very draining. And she also was pleading to the judge that, they're making her go to these sessions, and the building is exposed, meaning every single time she comes out, the paparazzi are harassing her, they're dehumanizing her, they're taking advantage of her pain, and they're monopolizing off of it. And so she was asking if she has to go through therapy, if it can be at her home once a week, where she feels safe and then she's not constantly put into the media as this basically crazy person. And so for that, I do think that she recognizes that she can benefit from therapy still, but I'm glad that she hasn't completely went into denial to say that everything is perfect. So my next reason for why I think that Britney's testimony should have some type of consideration, because this is a statement that she made during her testimony defending why she feels her freedom should be given back and her conservatorship should end. Quote, "I shouldn't be in a conservatorship if I can work and provide money and work for myself and pay other people. It makes no sense. The laws need to change. What state allows people to own another person's money and account and then threaten them saying, 'You can't spend your money unless you do what we want you to do, and I'm paying them,'" end quote. So from that alone, I agree. You can't sit here and call somebody incapacitated when they're not a minor, so they don't fit this definition for needing a conservatorship if you're saying they have the ability to earn their own money. Because in my situation of how I think about this is that if she's saying that she's able to work, but they're telling her she's unable to benefit from the fruit of her labor, that will be considered slavery. Only a slave does not have the ability to think and do things for themselves and also reap benefits for their labor. I think from that standpoint, she does have a very strong argument, and I really do think that the judge takes that statement in itself as a strong consideration as to why conservatorship doesn't make sense, at least from the financial standpoint. And like I said, in the state of California, it's both. It's not really two roles for two different people. They give both roles to one person. But I hope that the judge can at least give her that role, see if there's a way that the law can be tweaked to allow her to have that. Now, I did not hear her argue much about her having conservatorship over her own self, which I would have thought that would have been a very important thing to bring up because she is a mom, and I think that should have been number one why she wanted to have conservatorship ended. Because at the moment, her ex-husband, Kevin Federline, who is the father of her two kids, has 70% custody and she only has 30% custody. So I would have thought that that would have been a stronger reason why she would have wanted conservatorship to end. But there was something that she mentioned kind of throughout the testimony that I thought was a bit concerning, outside of the fact that she really didn't talk much about her kids. And it was her relationship with her boyfriend. Now, I want to make a disclaimer and say I know absolutely nothing about him, not even his name. And honestly, I didn't even want to research it just so I can have my very raw and honest opinion about my initial thoughts when I first heard the audio file and they showed a picture of him. That's all I've seen is a picture of him. Sometimes pictures can speak 1,000 words or things, something like that. I honestly think from that picture something was off. Like they come off as happy, but something just seemed very off to me, especially with how many times she brought him up in the testimony. And I'm in a committed relationship, so I get it that when you have someone that you love, you want to go all in and that's who you want to be with. But like I said, because she's a mom and these are not his kids, I would have thought the argument would have been more so for her to be having more time with her kids than to spend more time with her boyfriend. Something like, Judge, I am now going through all this therapy. I'm a fit mom. Can I at least get 50-50 of my kids? Or I am completely recovered. I have the ability to care and take care, love my kids. May I get full custody of my kids? Something. But I never heard that in argument. I don't know if it was edited out. I have no idea, but that was not her strongest argument as to why she wanted conservatorship to end. It seems like to me, her kids weren't that much of a factor as to why she wanted conservatorship to be over. It was more so financial and also for her boyfriend. Now, with the same boyfriend, she mentioned that they want to be married, that she just wants him to be able to drive her to places, and they have a IUD, which is a form of birth control inside of her. She wants it out because she wants to have another baby with this boyfriend. But she's not able to do so because, again, we only have one side of the story. It is really hard to say what is absolutes here. So this is all, I guess you could say this is a biased opinion about how I feel. But I will say I am slightly skeptical about her boyfriend because it seems like she brought him up more than her actual kids. And I'm almost wondering if he was the one who gave her the idea about ending conservatorship, because like I said, she had gone to court a few years prior saying that she was perfectly fine with having one. She thought it would be a great idea. But then in this testimony, she said that she lied to the public. She never wanted it. She just thought if she asked for it to be over, no one would believe her. And I can kind of see why she would lie about that, but that lie didn't help prove her point, I think, in this situation. So let's just say it's the truth. She did lie about wanting to end conservatorship. She really wanted it to be over. She just thought no one would believe her, so she didn't do it. She says since that time, she has gained more knowledge, she's more educated, and at that time, she was ignorant about what the role of a conservator is. So I think, the more you know, the more you grow. And I do think it is a good thing that she knows more about the role of a conservatorship and how it is or isn't benefiting her. But again, going back to her boyfriend, what is his intentions? Is he trying to manipulate her to get her to end this conservatorship so that he then can become her quote unquote conservator, where he makes decisions for her life and he takes control over her money? I don't know, because again, I know nothing about him. For all I know, he could be another celebrity no one has ever heard of. For all I know, he could have his own money. I don't know. But I do know she has had a relationship with her ex-husband, who at the end of the day, she had to pay alimony and he took custody of the kids. So it didn't work out in her favor. So I'm just saying, if conservatorship ends, I hope this is going to be beneficial for Britney Spears only. And I hope she is in a good place. And I also think that she makes good decisions. But I will say she is almost 40 years old. I think, like all of us as an adult, you have the right to make bad choices. And if she blows her money, that is her decision. If she, doesn't take the best care of herself, that is her decision. I truly believe the only reason the father was concerned is because she had a net worth of $60 million. Because if she has $6 to her account, I highly doubt her dad would have done all of that to fight for her conservatorship, because he couldn't benefit from that. She would have been a quote unquote burden to him, because he literally would have had to take care of her and fend for her as well all over again, since she's an adult. And so that's my opinion about how I feel about conservatorship. I'm hoping you kind of understand why this is even a topic in the news. I think it's important to know because we don't know what could happen to us. We don't know if, when we're in the process of trying to build wealth, if we have some quote unquote crazy moment, or if we have some accident where we can't make a decision and there's going to be somebody who tries to intervene for us. What is their intention? And so I think this is a cautionary tale that I think we can learn from. And that is, have somebody designated for those moments. If she would have been married and had a healthy marriage, she would have had a husband who loved her, who would have had her best interest for her. But she's not married. And her father, because it seems like they have some type of fractured relationship, doesn't seem to have her best interests in mind, as well as her mom, as well as her sister, as well as a whole group of other people. So with that being said, if she's able to work, if she's feeding them, if they cannot survive without her paycheck, I do believe that she no longer needs conservatorship. Otherwise, they should all be charged for making an incapacitated person work against their will. So, what are your thoughts? Is Britney crazy and she and her money needs to continue to be monitored? Is her argument compelling enough, stating enough reasons why ending her conservatorship should end? Do you know the conservatorship laws in your state? If you ever found yourself in Britney's situation, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, consider subscribing, sharing this episode with a friend. And until next time, I will talk to you later.